وعلى the last rak'ah that Sayyidi Abdul Fattah that he recited the first verses of Surah Ali Imran before finishing off the last verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, whereby which that we ask Allah Ta'ala wa'fu anna waghfir lana warhamna anta maulana. And when we realize that Allah is our Mawla, He is our Lord Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, these three blessed things that we ask for, and they all relate one to another, but at the same time they're also unique. We ask Allah for pardon, we ask Him for forgiveness, and we ask Him for mercy. And the idea of pardon is for the fact that we fell short in actually doing that particular act. And then the consequences of it, i.e. sin, we ask forgiveness for. So the very fact that we did the act, we ask pardon for it. We ask forgiveness for the sin that is involved in it. And then on top of that, we ask for mercy. And that if Allah Ta'ala pardons us, and He forgives us, and He shows us mercy after that, Allahu Akbar, is that it will actually that put us in a state that if it's accepted by Allah Ta'ala, is that better than even when we began solely from His bounty, because He is the Mawla. And just very briefly, that in the verses 7 and 8 of Surah Ali Imran, towards the end of Surah of the verse 7, is that Allah Ta'ala says, وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. Allah speaks of those who are grounded in knowledge. Is that they say that they believe in that everything is from Allah in the Quran. Whether the verses be from the mutashabihat or whether they be from the muhkamat. كُلٌّ مِنْ عِنْدِ رَبِّنَا. They're all from Allah Ta'ala. وَمَا يَذَّكَّرُ إِلَّا أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. And only the people of intellect truly are conscious and aware and remember. And then there's a dua that is made after this. And they mention is that this is also a dua that the rasikhun fil ilm make. And one of the greatest the greatest du'as of all are the du'as of the Quran. And it's actually a good thing to do, to compile them and to say them regularly, because these are du'as that come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. And then they make the du'a, رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا. Oh Allah, do not cause our hearts to go astray after you have guided us. وَهَبْ لَنَا مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً. And grant us from your presence mercy. إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْوَهَّابُ. Indeed, that you are the bestower. And we know that our Prophet ﷺ used to that say often that يَا مُقَلِّبَ الْقُلُوبِ الْأَبْصَارِ ثَبِّتْ قَلْبِي عَلَى دِينِكَ. That, oh, that mover and oscillator of hearts, that make my heart firm upon this deen. And that we also know that our Prophet ﷺ that taught us is that the likeness of the heart is like a feather that is in an open desert, in a vast desert. And the wind, just when it kicks in, that it flips the feather upside down time and time again. And he gave us these metaphors so we can realize the reality of the state of the heart, and so that we can ask Allah Ta'ala to make our hearts firm. And so the main way that the heart goes astray is by following its desires, which also indicates is that the spiritual state of a human being takes precedence over even their intellectual state, and that's what actually affects it. Because the context of the verse is in relation to the muhkamat and the mutashabihat. And here, that the dua that we're making is that la tuzigh qulubana. That we're asking Allah Ta'ala not to make our hearts go astray. Because once the heart goes astray by following its desires and its passions, is that at every other level of the human being, that primarily intellectual, and then everything after that, we will also go astray. And that is also an indication that someone could be granted guidance and have that guidance stripped from them. And this is something that should petrify us. Is that the idea of salb, is that after having been given guidance, that it be taken from us. And the only safety really is in fear. The only safety of having iman taken from us is in fear, because it's so easy to happen. And this is why, after we ask Allah Ta'ala to that not lead our hearts astray, is that وَهَبْ لَنَا مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً, is that we ask Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for mercy, because there's no doubt after having been given guidance, we will make mistakes, we will do things that are that terrible, will do things that are that major, and if Allah Ta'ala shows mercy upon us, then that as a result, because He is the Wahhab, He is the one who gives, even though we're not deserving to give, is that we will maintain our faith. And so we ask Allah, رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا وَهَبْ لَنَا مِن لَدُنكَ رَحْمَةً إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْوَهَّابُ وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم الحمد لله رب العالمين.